Hello, my name is Mark Aubrey. I am principal at South Shore Technical. I'm going to take the next few minutes and talk a little bit about our grading philosophy and the use of Powerschool and what that grading looks like, including those letters and numbers that can often be confusing. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. So if you just give me a second here. This is how you're going to log into Powerschool. So you're going to go to ssvt.powerschool.com. This is what's going to pop up. You're going to pop in your username and your password. So today we're using everybody's favorite student, Cookie Monster. Cookie Monster is just one of those random stuff that we use to show off and practice and find out new things. So we're going to sign in as Cookie Monster. Now, if you don't remember your password or having trouble getting in, please contact our IT department. They will be happy to reset passwords and help you get into the program and make sure that you can see what you need to see. So when we open up, we see right over here that we have Cookie up in the left-hand corner. If we had more than one student, if you had more than one student, Mama Monster maybe had Frankenstein and Cookie Monster. Frankenstein would also be listed here too, and you could just toggle back and forth. So when we look at the main screen, we have a listing of all the courses. So right now, Cookie Monster only has a couple because we're just pretending here. But so I created a course. I created my name is here, the teacher. You can email the teacher just by clicking on this directly. That will be helpful. And then you have all these letter grades. We're going to get to those in a second. We have some recent classroom attendance. This is just the classroom itself. All right. And then down below, we have the attendance by day. So this is Cookie Monster's attendance for the entire day. Is he out? Is he tardy? Does he go home early? Is he dismissed? That type of thing. So we could see we go back to last Tuesday. Apparently Monday, Cookie had a little too many chocolate chips and was a little too sick to come to school. So Mama Monster did the right thing. Mama Monster called us and we were able to give him a code of APC. So that's absent parent called. So we know that the parent knows that Cookie Monster is not in school today. If we did not, we could also have an absent excused, AEX. That means that Cookie Monster's parents sent in a note from a doctor or a dentist afterwards, and we can excuse that absence. Remember, a note from home is always nicety, just to let us know that you knew that your son or daughter was not in school, but it will not excuse the absence. The other one you can see is just a straight absence, and that's just an A if we have gotten no communication or anything like that from the home front. Do know that if a student is absent and they're not an APC, your house will be getting a phone call at whatever number you have put into the computer for us. So you'll notice years to date would be over here on the end and kind of allow you to keep up on the number of absences and tardies. So if we scroll back up here a little bit, we have our letters and our numbers. So in South Shore Technical, we have 2 semesters. We do offer semester courses to seniors. Financial literature and stats are both semester courses in our math program. So we have semesters and semester grades. So here we are. We have an A1, a W1, a C1, an M1. So A1 is achievement. These are the tests, quizzes, projects, those outcomes that show what your son or daughter can do in a class. Next to that is W1. That's the work habits. Are they working well with others? Are they good in groups? Do they come to school prepared? Meaning, do they have their work boots and their uniforms if they're in shop? Or do they have their Chromebook? Is their homework done? All that stuff goes into the work habits grade. Then we have the combined grade, C1. That's the combine of work habits and achievement. And I know what you're thinking. 78 and 68 does not give you 68. 76, I'm sorry. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We've graded a little differently. And then M1 is the middle of the road. That's the midterm. The first semester usually goes to about the end of January. The midterm is right around the beginning of November. thereabouts. And FO is the final grade. Now, when we're talking about does my son or daughter pass the course, will they be moving on to the next year? The FO grade is the one we're worried about. A 65 is a passing grade at South Shore Technical. So your son or daughter needs a 65 in this category. So far, hey, Cookie Monster has a 76. He looks like he's going to move on. In the second semester, once again, we have that A2 and the W2. So the achievement for the second semester, the work habits for the second semester, a combined second semester grade, a midterm second semester. But we're still focused on this FO to find out if Cookie Monster is going to pass the class or not. All right. Let's jump into a look at Cookie Monster's grades for a second here. It will take a second for it to come up. Remember, if you have any questions at all throughout the year or at any time, info@ssfotech.org gives you a group of us, and we'll make sure that your question gets to the right individual that can answer it. So you have the teacher's name, when they're meeting, the term is FO, so we're looking at the 76, his final grade. So if we scroll down, we have a list of assignments. So in Cookie Monster's case, we have some work habits grades and some achievement grades. Now, I threw together a course. I used to teach psychology back in the day. Right after they invented the wheel, I taught psychology. So we're looking at just a couple of quick things that I threw together to talk about that. So here we are. We have a couple of homework assignments. So the first assignment of the year, Cookie gets an 8 out of 10 or an 80. Okay, off to a good start. Learning the teacher, learning what the expectations are, that's great. The next day, we had a class discussion on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, one of my favorite things to teach. And Cookie not only likes to chew on chocolate chips, but also likes to chat. So he does a really good job abdicating for himself. Remember, abdicate, not abdicate, I'm sorry, advocate, balance, and collaborate are our big three things. So we got a 10 out of 10, did a good job. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we had a quiz. He's been here, he's done the work, 45 out of 50 or a 90. Good job, off to a good start. Well, something happened. Maybe Cookie Monster got a little complacent here, but work habits, couple of ones in a row. Next one, he had some homework to do, only a 6 out of 10. So something happened there. He redeems himself on the next one, 10 out of 10. Great. Then we were going and we did some group work on the stages of development. So we've moved on into Freud and Freud's stages of development. But this is the day, remember, that Cookie Monster's mom, Mama Monster, called him in sick. So he wasn't there. That's what this symbol right here, the empty desk in the green, looks like. Now, this is done by the teacher to make the teacher aware, okay, why didn't Cookie Monster turn this in? Well, because Cookie Monster wasn't there to do it. So he also gives them a 0. Now, why do teachers give 0 if the kid wasn't there? Because they want the grade to be as realistic as possible. They could ignore this grade, and then the grade would go up. But Cookie Monster really wouldn't understand what his real grade was at the time. So we make sure that most teachers use a 0. They want the student to understand if you do not come back and make up the work, this is what you're dealing with. So because Cookie Monster was absent, didn't come back from work, did do well in the first homework, he only got a 35 out of 50 on that first test, or a 70 on that quiz. And then there was a project due about 5 days later that they were working on, comparison of hierarchy of needs versus stages of development, and in part probably because he never came back to make up this work, Cookie Monster got a 75. All right, so we have 3 achievement grades and 5 work habit grade. Let's drop back to that first page again here, and we'll give it a moment. So if we look at achievement and work habits, as I mentioned, they don't add up. In an academic classroom setting, so that's related in science, math, history, and English, it's divided 80-20. 80% of the grade is can they do it? Are they capable of doing the work? 20% of the grade are do they come prepared? Do they have that Chromebook? Do they have their tools? Do they work well with others in groups? And if we did that math, that's where we would get the 76, right? it allows us to have a little bit more in-depth conversation, which is where I think we are a step ahead of some other schools. So let's say Cookie Monster had a 72 for an achievement grade. And then we looked over at his work habits grade and it was a 50. Well, you as a parent know that Cookie Monster is probably not trying the hardest and probably needs to give a little bit more effort. And that 72 would probably be in the 80s, very simply, if they had done some homework, had participated in class, things like that. It allows you to have a conversation about, hey, time to raise the game, Cookie Monster. Now let's take it in the other direction. If he had a 72, but he had a 95 in work habits, well, that's a totally different story. That tells you of a kid who's working really, really hard and just can't figure out how to get it to correspond onto tests and other things. So that's when we need, okay, what kind of supports can we put in? Can we give the student help after school? Can he stay in the homework help center? Does he need to stay after with the teacher the day before the quiz or the test to do a refresher? That's a different conversation. And that's really what I think separates us apart from some other schools. We're giving you a little bit more insight into what does that C minus really mean? I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. All right. So I think I've done a fairly good job explaining the grading system and why we do what we do. But as always, if you have any questions about anything, info at ssvotech.org will get you what you need and get you the questions you have answered. I thank you for joining us and thank you for entrusting your child to our school. Have a good evening.